Hi everybody, it's Heidi M. I'm back with another film mini review for you. This time I'm going to be speaking about Mexican filmmaker Isaac Ezban's PÁRVULOS, Children of the Apocalypse. This is a dystopian family drama, coming of age story. Hey friends, it's Heidi M. I'm back with another mini review of a film by Mexican filmmaker Isaac Ezban titled Párvulos, Children of the Apocalypse. This is a dystopian coming of age family dynamics horror story that starts with three young brothers living alone in a remote cabin, hiding a terrifying secret in their basement. The three brothers are played by Felix Farid Escalante as Salvador, the eldest, Leonardo Cervantes, Oliver, and Mateo Ortega, who plays the youngest, Benjamin. The dynamic in terms of these three actors who play the brothers is great. So in the film, it goes from we don't know what's happening in the basement to slowly uncovering the layers of what's happening in this world where these three young brothers have to survive. There's been a virus that's mutated, that's infected a lot of the country. They're in a remote cabin in Mexico. I think it's in the region of Jalisco. So we are trying to figure out along with them how they're going to survive day to day. And the one thing I will say is that is a really thought-provoking film. Some notes or warnings or words of caution for those of you who might be squirmy or maybe need to know in advance. There is some violence in this film. There's violence in terms of people violence, but also violence towards animal. But there's a purpose to this, and it's done very carefully, and they use practical effects for the animals, just so you know ahead of time, and in case you do feel squirmy or concerned about that. But the idea here is that the brothers, again, are kind of left alone to survive. They need to fend for themselves, and slowly we're getting into this family portrait that is sort of underlying in this particular story. So what I like about this film is obviously the genre elements. Isaac Ezban is not new to filmmaking, of course. This is his fifth film, and he has spoken about this film being sort of a companion film to his other film called Mal de Ojo, or Evil Eye, and you'll hear more about that later when it comes to this other film. But the idea is that he's using these tropes or cliches of dystopian horror films because we always think that there is a particular monster or something evil happening in the film, but then it turns out that as we stay with the film and we follow the story, what we think is the danger might not necessarily be the danger. Sometimes it ends up being other people, it ends up being our loved ones, or anyways, you get the point. So I kind of like how this film kind of forces you to sit with it and kind of follow that story along. Again, I mentioned that there are practical effects, which I really, really appreciate, and they're really well done. And I really like the visuals as well. The film has a particular tone, and there are kind of limited colors in the film, and colors are used when necessary to sort of convey a particular mood or I guess feeling. And so I do like that aspect of the film. The actors, as I mentioned, were the three brothers are outstanding, but everyone else in the cast kind of are really supportive, including the zombies, quote unquote, who are infected people through this weird pandemic. So a lot to relate to in this film, whether you're a parent or not, just this idea of family and what we do to take care for one another and our loved ones, and the extents that we would go to do so, right? And the one thing that I also will say about this film is that there are different ages in the brothers, so they also give us a different point of view in terms of what their life is like. You know, the youngest one is a little bit more innocent because he's still very much a young child and he sees things very differently. So he kind of gives his brothers a different point of view and challenges them to sort of be more open-minded, I guess. And it reminds me of this idea that, you know, we sometimes lose curiosity from our childhood as we get older. So I do like that there's that age group there that sort of anchors us in our most innocent, I guess, part of ourselves, which is being a little children and the love that we have for our families and, again, our loved ones. So in the midst of the horror and these mutated virus and zombie-like people and violence, there's a really interesting and very poignant family story. So that is Parvulos, Children of the Apocalypse. That's all I'm going to say right now because I am going to leave you with an interview with the filmmaker, Isaac Ezban, next. I hope that you enjoy it. Hi friends, I am joined today by filmmaker Isaac Ezban. Nice to meet you, Isaac.
Very nice to meet you. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. Congratulations, your latest film, Parvulos, Children of the Apocalypse, had its premiere in LA last night. How was it?
Yes, very good, very good, very good. I'm very happy. This is like a dream come true. In the Chinese theater, which is a
Yes.
theater I used to go when I was living in LA. I would go there to see big blockbusters, and I never even dreamed one day I would have a premiere of one of my movies there. The theater was packed. I don't even know who all those people were, but people seem to enjoy the movie, and I'm very happy. It was like a dream come true.
Congrats, that's great. I've been there once, and I will say it's always such a great place to. It's a great energy in that theater, I think.
Yes, it's a great energy.
Great energy. So, in terms of your film, it's doing it. It's done its rounds in the festival circuit. Congratulations on the many awards and nominations. And I kind of want to start. I don't want to talk about the film because I will present that to folks leading into the interview.
Okay.
But it seems like the themes are around family and coming of age. And
Yes.
you're using these excellent tropes of like genre and dystopian horror to tell this story. Are these sort of the themes that are important to you right now in your life and sort of the type of film that you want to make right now?
Yes, totally. For me, this is a film about family and about the importance of saving a family and the importance of trying to save a family and keep a family together, which is a theme I can personally relate to. But it's also a movie about coming of age and this aspect in life when you stop being a boy and you become an adult. Something that for a certain reason is a topic that has always struck with me, and I love coming of age stories by Spielberg, by Del Toro, by Stephen King. So I really want to make my coming of age odyssey, and it's also a movie about that universal truth of how parents take care of children, and then it becomes the other way around. When children grow up, they take care of their parents. So I wanted to use horror and the zombie subgenre as a metaphor about that.
That makes sense. And I heard you mention in another place, it might have been another festival, that this is sort of like the companion film to Mal de Ojo, The Evil Eye. Can
Yes.
you tell us a little bit about how they're companions to each other?
Yes, because Evil Eye is a very feminine coming of age, and Parvulos is a very masculine coming of age. So it was always very interesting for me. I always say, I don't want to sound pretentious, but it could be that Evil Eye is my Pan's Labyrinth and this is my devil's backbone. Or somebody told me one day, Evil Eye is the movie I did for my daughter, and Parvulos is the movie I did for my son. Or because I'm so obsessed with this topic of the coming of age, making a very female-driven coming of age like Evil Eye, where it's very feminine and the male characters are very small and only are there to fulfill a certain story role. And then
Right.
Parvulus is quite the opposite. It's very masculine, and
Yes,
all the feminine characters are very small and are there to fulfill something specific in the story.
for sure.
It's my way. These two movies back to back is my way of making my epiphany of the coming of age subgenre. Almost like when Clint Eastwood made, Flags of Our Fathers and then Letters from Iwo Jima on the same year. The two sides of the war. So that's how these movies contrast between one another. Yeah,
No, that makes sense now when you kind of put them together, and it's
yeah.
also good for folks to know that this is your fifth film, as we know. But it's nice to have sort of like a double feature in the future. Hopefully, these two films.
Sorry, what was that?
No, I was saying it would be nice to have a double feature of these two
Oh,
films
yeah,
in
that'd
the
be great.
future.
That would be a dream come true, even if one of these theaters in LA plays the double feature. Just imagine that. Yeah.
For sure. So you talk about coming of age in Parvulos. I love the three brothers, and they're all different ages, and so they each give us a glimpse of the way that children will be looking at danger and trying to protect each other and their parents in a really interesting way. Did you always know that there were going to be three brothers at these ages?
Yeah, you know what? Originally in the script, I always envisioned the character of Salvador, the oldest brother, to be a little younger. I wanted him to be, somewhere like 11, 12. So you would really get this sense of, not the sense of one teen and two kids, more
Right.
like it was three kids.
Yes.
And it would play really nice, especially in that scene with the girl, with Valeria, because then he would be like a young kid, almost entering adolescence, having his first time with this girl in this complicated context. But the casting turned out to be really hard to find an actor 11, 12 that could deliver. It that is a role that requires a lot of physicality, walking with the crutches and with no leg and fighting and yelling. And the kids that were 11, 12, they would just seem very, it would seem fake when they were doing it. It would seem like they were playing. So my casting director told me, Isaac, let's age him up again. Let's go for kids that are 16, 17. I had to agree. I had no other option. Sometimes directing is listening. You have to listen to your team. And we found Felix, who I think did a fantastic job. I had to kind of let go of that. Sometimes also as a director, you need to let go of certain ideas you have. I had to let go of this idea of the young kid with the older girl. It's interesting. She's still much older than him. She's
Right.
5 and he's 17. And somebody once told me the age, you can see the age in the eyes. But still, because she looks young and he looks old, they kind of look like two people the same age hooking up.
That's
But it
right.
still works. It still works. There's still great chemistry between them. So it still kind of works. I had
Yes.
to let go of this idea of the young teen in order to getting an actor that will work better throughout the rest of the movie.
That makes sense. And I know that you worked with acting coaches with your young actors, not just in this film, but other films. Was there any particular performance that surprised you or impressed you in some way during the filming?
Any performance that surprised me? Yeah,
Right. I mean, everything is
I,
great, but I'm saying something
I
to
mean,
you personally.
yeah, I feel like the performance of the three kids stole my heart every day. Particularly, I remember the day we shot the ritual. It was one of the last, the ritual in the end of the movie in the woods. We
Yes.
shot that in 3 nights, 3 nights. And when I saw the kids tied in with the ropes to the trees and just yelling, yelling, crying, that really struck me. That really struck me hard. And I was like, whoa. And it was almost like a climatic moment because they've been embodying these roles for 6 weeks, and then they just did that. So that was great. Yeah,
100%. I was gonna say they were so great at emoting, like their emotions were so real that I
yeah.
kind of wanted to know what was it like on set in terms of, getting them ready and kind of getting them to
Well,
that
something
place.
something we used is a great acting coach that she's been with me on 2 movies. She was also in Evil Eye, and this acting coach, what she does is she really takes care of looking at the kids and because as a director you need to focus on everything. You need to focus on everything that is happening, the framing and the camera and but as the acting coach, she can focus only on the kids,
Yes.
on making sure they are emotionally ready, they know their lines, they are comfortable on the set. And also, she's also an actress. Her name is Ana Carrillo. So every day before the kids would enter the stage, she would take care of like transforming them. She would cry even like we were ready to real action, sound is rolling, everything, and she would say, "Give me a minute," and she would start crying and tell the kids, look at what's happening in the world. look at what's happening to your parents, look at what's happening to your family. She would cry, cry, cry hard until they would start crying as well. And then once they were crying, she would say, okay, they are ready. Then we just yell action. And then
Right.
once we yell cut, she would also help them get out of that emotion. Something
Exactly.
we also did is we never yell cut until I can do 7 or 8 takes in a single take. At the end of the take, I just say, okay, let's go to the beginning, do this different, stand up, whatever. I give a very specific instruction, but I
Yes.
never yell cut because the moment I yell cut, the alarm rings, all these people come in with
Yes.
makeup, and the kids, they need to build in again. So Anna
Right.
taught me never yell. For example, you know that scene when they are voting whether they should go or not to kill somebody?
Yes.
We
Yes.
did 7 takes of that
Oh
in the
wow.
same take, in the same take. Obviously, this is unfortunate for my producers because they need to spend a lot in hard drives. This is unfortunate for my
Yes.
editor because the clips are super long, but that's how we get these performances.
For
So
sure.
they never break concentration.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting you mentioned that because I was thinking in terms of your editing because it is such a cohesive film. We get to see the finished version of the film, obviously your version with the
yeah.
editor's version. And what was that discussion with your editor in terms of like getting it to the place where you were? This is it. This is the version I want.
Well, my editor is Oscar Figueroa. Is an old school editor. He is almost, I think, 50 something or 60 years old. What I mean is that he has experience. He has edited more than 100 films in Mexico, even from cutting on film back to the 80s. He has edited some of the most famous Mexican movies like The Crime of Father Amaro and many more.
Ugh,
And
yes,
it was amazing working with him. This is my third movie with him, so we know each other, we trust each other, and he really, really helped me into. I listen to him a lot. I would just say I listen to him a lot because I trust him. And editing is also a lot about trust. So I fully, fully trust him, and he helped me take the movie to where I wanted to go. He really
for
helped
sure.
me in that. And of course, I listened to him. Uh, the movie was longer, and listen to him in terms of experience, in terms of information, in terms of storytelling, in terms of piecing, made me cut a few scenes. But we also found a middle ground where he also listened to my vision, to what was important for me. This is a movie that embodies many tones, and it's like
Yes.
a roller coaster. So it wasn't easy to find the right balance, but we found it together.
Yeah, no, that's so great to hear because it seems like you had really supportive, like you had a really supportive crew around
Yeah,
you because
totally.
you
Yeah.
also, your visuals are great, not just from in terms of the way that the film looks, but also your practical effects. So it seems like there was everybody was sort of on the same page, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, totally.
Are these people that you normally have worked with in the past? Anyone new in your crew that you kind of brought on for this one?
Most people I've worked in the past. My director of photography, Rodrigo, did my first movie with me, The Incident. My production designer, Adele, also. The costume people worked on Evil Eye. But Oscar, my editor, my composers. But also in any movie, you meet new crews. My AD is the first time I work with her, never letting her go. You kind of meet new people in every movie.
For
Yeah.
sure. So when you look at your trajectory so far in the films you've made, how do you see Parvulos sort of evolving or expanding in your storytelling style?
Well, I feel it's a more mature movie. It still has the gore and the kind of B movie essence and a lot of stuff I do, and it's very over the top. But it's still, I feel, a more mature movie in terms of the themes, in terms of I don't want to say the message, but yeah, the message that
Sure.
the movie exploits. So I think it's a more mature movie.
Yeah, I
But
think so
I
too.
would say that's more for the audience to decide. But that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, no, and I think that's great. It's a great segue because I did want to ask you if there is any hope in terms of what we see as audiences, other than, obviously the two constants that you talk about in the film, family and change. What else
Yeah.
is that sort of the essence that you want to leave us with in this film?
Uh, Yeah, family and change is the two things I wanted to talk about. Family and change, but also, I wanted to talk about coming of age. I wanted to talk about the how even in the middle of tragedy, you can be united with your loved ones and try to save that. I wanted to talk about the cycle of family, how parents take care of children, and then children end up taking care of parents, but using that from a zombie perspective and from a very young age. And I wanted
Yes.
to talk about how the importance of trying to save a family, or not keeping a family together no matter what, which is something I can personally relate to.
Yes, I think all of us can absolutely. I'm running out of time, but I have time for more question.
Okay,
My
whatever you need, yeah.
my curiosity is around the rating. I know that you were having some issues in your rating, so I'm hoping that younger audiences can see this film. I think it's important for younger audiences to see it. Where are you at in terms of that?
Well, in Mexico, we had a hard time because the Mexican rating board, RTC, I believe were very strict. I need to say this up front. They rated the movie C, which is almost, it's different in Mexico because here you have PG-13 and rated R. But
Yes.
even but in Mexico, C is like more strict
Oh,
than a rated R. And rating a Mexican movie C is like almost dooming the movie. Nobody's going to be able to see it.
mm,
So we really thought I didn't understand the decision because a movie like Evil Eye, my previous movie, has more gore, more nudity, and it was B-15. So I didn't
right.
understand this. So after insisting on them a lot, they didn't want to give in. So I had to make a cut of the movie
No.
that had a little less gore and a little less blood in the scene of Valeria.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because the theaters called it director's cut, but it's almost the same movie. It's only like 40 seconds shorter, and we
Interesting.
had to do that. And we released the two cuts. The first time in a Mexican movie that released the two cuts, the version for everyone can see, and the version that is like unrated. We thought it would be a good marketing strategy. Maybe people even going to see both versions. Unfortunately, the strategy did not play out well. I
Mm,
believe the audiences got confused because
sure.
also the theaters released it as like two different posters, as if it was two movies. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like putting more steps for people that want to buy the ticket. I don't know. It wasn't a great idea. But that was only in Mexico. In the US, it's only going to be one version, which is the unrated version.
Excellent. ¿Y en Latinoamérica va a salir?
Sí, está saliendo esta semana en Perú y en otros países de Latinoamérica.
Okay, muy bien. Thank you so much,
Sí.
Isaac.
Thank you,
Lovely to
thank you,
speak with you, and good
thank
luck.
you,
All
thank you very much. Thank
right.
you.
Take care.